Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's show, if you may have seen the list on the 10, Chicago Bears season preview for 2022. I'm, of course, David On Point. Right there is Mr. Matthew James. TJ Hopkins will be joining us here on the show shortly. Also, we wanted to apologize for the erraticness of our postings. I am currently in the middle of a move, so it's making my availability a little all over the place, where I haven't been able to run as many shows as I would like. So as many people don't know, I'm moving to Fort Wayne, Indiana, to start a new job. So yeah, that's pretty exciting for me. I'm pretty happy about that. I've been David Huppin. This is going to be our Chicago Bears season preview show. I'm going to share the link to the StreamYard link for everybody. If you want to join in on the show and talk a little Chicago Bears football, you're more than welcome to do so. As I mentioned with every show, please keep your comments PG. We don't want to get in trouble with the powers that be that is Facebook and YouTube and all those places, because that would not make me very happy. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you've come to the right place. Prime Sports World on a regular goes live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. And that's been our dedication to you guys as fans. So continue to check us out, continue following us, because we can continue putting out good content. Please like, share, and subscribe. And happy Hump Day, Mr. James. How are you, buddy? I guess Matt's having a little bit of audio issues. He's not able to actually hear me, which is unfortunate. Hopefully you can get that fixed. I'm going to drop you out of the show for right now. We're just waiting for TJ to come in. But yeah, happy Hump Day. I hope everybody's doing a good day and hope everybody being safe. It is a hot one here in Illinois. I'm still in the process of moving. As I mentioned, moving in this weather has not been fun at all. I wish I could be not doing that right now. It is what it is. Also, welcome into the show, Mr. TJ Hopkins. What's up, buddy? How are you, man? Happy Hump Day, my friend.
Happy Hump Day.
Yeah. Chicago Bears, man. Chicago Bears season preview. Let's talk about the Bears. What are you expecting out of the Chicago Bears this season?
Hopefully more than at least 7 wins looking at the schedule. At this point, you just hope for the development of Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney. You hope they continue to be the dynamic that that we saw flashes of last season. Darnell Mooney turned into a 1,000-yard receiver with 3 different quarterbacks, basically.
Yep.
You have
a wildly outplayed Allen Robinson, made Allen Robinson totally expendable.
Now you have a clear conscience, clear of mind Justin Fields, where you don't have a coach who's coaching for his job, worrying about playing a rookie. He can just go in, get the offense, be free, make a play. He don't have to worry about like Andy Dalton coming in to save him. He don't have to worry about Nick Foles. Like, first off, those 2 dudes don't even fit the kind of player that Justin Fields is. Justin Fields is mobile. Those 2 dudes are pocket passers. And it's almost like Matt Nagy tried to make Justin Fields something he's not.
I think that point right there is the biggest point when it comes to the Chicago Bears season. There's not going to be this thing where, Justin Fields is going to constantly have to look over his shoulder, like one of these other backup quarterbacks is going to come in and take his snaps. Like, this is Justin Fields' job, and there's nobody else that's going to be competing with him.
Exactly.
And he doesn't have to worry about a coach that's coaching for a job. He got a new GM who's, head coach, new GM. They're all brand new. This is their ride, and they're going to be taking it by the horns. I guess we'll talk about when we get to the storylines, but this is a very much of changing of the guard when it comes to the defensive side of the football. No longer do you have James Trevathan's no longer here. Khalil Mack is no longer here. Akeem Hicks is no longer here. Like, it's a very much a changing of the guard when it comes to the defensive side of the football. The offense, I think, will be interesting. I still have concerns on the offensive line. I think David Montgomery is still a top 10 running back in the National Football League right now, based on just yards per carry and his ability to break tackles. Who was productive when he's healthy.
Yeah, and he's kind of getting snubbed by the Madden guys, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think like players say players say they don't care about that stuff, but they care about that stuff.
They for sure do care about that stuff.
They do.
No doubt. I think 7 wins might be slightly ambitious because it's basically what this defense is dealing with right now. Matt, you get yourself fixed over there, man? I guess not. Let's jump into the storylines. I'll jump back Matt James in here in a few minutes. First storyline: expectations for first-year head coach Matt Eberflus and general manager Ryan Poles. Expectations.
Well, obviously you're in a rebuild, right? So this is one of those you got to be patient. It's again like I don't get the Bears fans who are, what you call it, trying to rush the process. Like you can't do that. First off, what gives you the right to even have that mindset?
Well, this is Chicago, and Chicago, you know how Chicago fans and sports fans get. Like the Bulls didn't go to the championship this season, everybody's upset. So,
which they shouldn't. Again, which they shouldn't have been. Again, it's like he is free of conscience. That he don't have to worry about. Oh, I'm going to get fired in my first year. You know, like same thing with Ryan Poles. Like he's not worried about, oh, I made this move. That move is going to cost me. I'm going to get fired because I made it. Like no, it's a clean slate. Like it has to be. Like first off, there are some changes coming down the line that we're going to talk about when that happens, i.e. new stadium, i.e. team being sold, like that that's coming. Like just as a Bears fan, like be prepared for that because I think they're more happy about the new stadium than anything. But yeah, Matt Eberflus, defensive guy, he's kind of like it's kind of like worrisome, quote unquote worrisome, because this is a quarterback's league. It's an offensive game, and the Bears hired a defensive coach. Like that.
I mean, but that's why you hire offensive coordinators. I mean, come on.
Thank you. Like that's what offensive coordinators are for. Like I've never heard the Steelers fans say all those years of having Big Ben, Mike Tomlin might have to go. You know, he's a defensive guy. You know, Mike Tomlin, like the game is passing. Like John Harbaugh, like Harbaugh has to go. Not Harbaugh, not John. No, yeah, John Harbaugh in Baltimore. Like I ain't never heard Ravens fans complain about him, but you know, like that's why you have, to your point, offensive coordinators. Like,
offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, you know, running back coaches. Like, these guys are experts at something. Like
that's
Matt Eberflus, everybody go in the same direction.
So but Ryan Poles, he kind of kicked the Hornets' nest a little bit. You know, you trade Khalil Mack, and it was like, whoa, like you did, like you traded that guy, and it's almost like that was Ryan Poles assessing the roster, saying this roster is not built to win right now, and it's time to blow it up. Like we had a window, albeit very short. We had a window, and it closed. It sucks, but it closed, and like that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens in the NFL. Players get old, they get hurt, they might necessarily play as well. I actually think he did a pretty good job getting some value out of Khalil Mack. We'll talk about when we get to the draft, but like Ryan Poles is an accomplished executive in this league. He spent basically 2 years as the director of college scouting. He spent 1 season as assistant director of player personnel. That's 5 years as a college scouting coordinator for the Chiefs. Like this is a guy who has some experience in the National Football League. He started in 2008 from Boston College, and then in 2009 he made the jump from NCAA to NFL. Like this guy has been somebody who's been accomplished. This is a guy that was sought after as a connoisseur of football, I guess, if you want to say it.
What up, guys? Sorry for the technical difficulties there, trying to get things going. So it's nice to be back on the show.
Well, welcome to the show, man. Yes.
So glad to see you guys again. But yeah, as TJ mentioned, it's definitely a full-out rebuild, and it's about time they've done it. I mean, their window was pretty much closed after the 2018 heartbreaker in the playoffs, which we won't go over any more than that. I mean, couple 500 seasons isn't really much. I mean, that's just putting yourselves in, a poor position more draft wise for the future. So, and it's nice to finally have some more draft picks and get things going again. So as Ryan Poles is trying to get that rebuilt, which was nice to see. I mean, it's always hard to move on from someone like Cleo Mack, but I mean, that was also time for that to happen for the rebuild.
Not to mention, Cleo Mack hasn't been healthy the last 2 seasons. He hasn't completed a full season in 3 years. Like it was for sure time for us to move on from Cleo Mack. Like his contract wasn't producing the value of his own contract. Like, he just wasn't.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're going to be probably getting rid of Robert Quinn here soon. I mean,
I actually had that as the topic, and then I
at least
changed
for the Bears.
I actually had that as a topic.
You never know with
if we thought he was going to finish the season.
So, I mean, from what I've been seeing, especially with actually the 2 receivers we have, which are some of the best blocking receivers in the league, we're going to be running the ball a lot again, trying to hopefully keep the defense off the field and help Justin Fields and probably a little more play action and get him his feet moving around, especially with the offensive line still a huge question.
Yeah, no arguments there. I think it was time to make a change of the guard for the Bears. Let's talk about Justin Fields here. Going into his play into his second season, first time as the full-time starter. No questions about that. What are we expecting stats-wise out of Justin Fields? I'll let TJ go first. Or just play in general,
he was. There was a poll that said who would lead the league in interceptions, and his name came up as the lead vote getter in said poll, and I'm like, I don't see how that's going to happen.
I mean, he might.
How when the Bears are going to be possibly 3-1 run the pass.
I mean, true. I mean, but when it comes to interception, I mean, it's he's got to be at least in the conversation. I don't think it's that disrespectful to say he might lead the league in interceptions.
I think it is because I don't think he's going to have enough. He's not going to pass the ball that many times a game to lead the league in picks. It's not it's mathematically not possible.
I mean, we'll see. I think that he can for sure be in the conversation, the mix of it. Do I think he's going to win? No, I don't think so. I think Drew Lock will probably have that recognition with Seattle. I think he'll throw way more than he will pass. Then they'll run the ball there in Seattle. But yeah,
mathematically, it's not going to happen. Obviously, again, it's going to be better for him because he's free, right? He's going to be allowed to make mistakes because they're going to happen. He's going to be allowed to, all right, I made this mistake. Let me learn from it. All right, sit me down. Show me where I went wrong and yada woo woo. But this is the same dude that had, again, not his fault. But if you make him the day one starter a season ago, this is not a talking point. If you make him the day one starter a season ago, it's expectations for Justin Fields in year 2.
Yeah, true.
As opposed to the question that you have, right now. So it's. In many people's eyes, it's basically a rookie year, quote unquote rookie year.
Well, I mean, they should have redshirted. They probably should have had him sit the entire last season, which me and you talked about at the during the season preview, last year.
If you start, if you're gonna play him, right? But if you bench it, if you want Andy Dalton to be the starter, make Andy Dalton the clear-cut starter, barring injury, Justin Fields does not see the field at all, right? And what happened, right? They were playing the Bengals last year. Andy Dalton gets hurt. Who does he insert? Not Nick Foles, Justin Fields.
Yep.
And it's you son of a ... Right?
Yeah, I think Matt Nagy was feeling the pressure from the front office and the ownership group to get this kid on the field because the season wasn't going anywhere. But I think when I look around the talent around Justin Fields, outside of David Montgomery and Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, sometimes there is not a lot else here. I'm not a big Byron Pringle guy. I don't really love Bellis Jones Jr. where we drafted him. N'Keal Harry's been a bust. I mean, their offensive line still is kind of a work in progress. I think it could be better this season based on Tevin Jenkins. He's going to be healthy this season finally. He was coming off like a back surgery last season. Larry Burham will be healthy. Cody Whitehair, I'm assuming, will be healthy. Like, it could be an offensive line that's better than people expect next season, but not by much. And like, I just think this offense is going to struggle to put points on the board, like on a consistent night-to-night basis. But it won't be because of it. It won't be because of Justin Fields.
I mean, that's a normal Bears offense, though. I mean, we've struggled for many, many years to put points on the board. When's the last time we averaged more than 18 points a game?
Literally, what's his name was the head coach. Trestman was the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, how did that go? The defense was abysmal.
The defense was like the Bears literally averaged like 30 a game, but they were giving up 35.
Yeah,
right? Like it was like so like for what it's like albeit that wasn't that long ago, but yeah, it was like that was a while back. That was a while back. And Cole Kmet again with 3 different quarterbacks, 60 catches, 612, 610 yards, something like that. Like I wish they would have used him more in the red zone versus a Jimmy Graham, because that's valuable reps that Cole Kmet definitely could have used. But you're going with Jimmy Graham, and I get it. That's a vet. That's all reliable. He's still a red zone threat, like one of the best red zone threats there is, right? Like that's Jimmy Graham. I get it. But at the end of the day, you got to give Cole Kmet those reps, because how does he improve if you don't work with him?
Yep, 100%. And I think this offense, I just think this offense is going to struggle mightily. I'm not sold on anything outside of Darnell Mooney and David Montgomery. I know Cole Kmet has his splashes, but let's see what he does as like the primary starting tight end. I do think the Bears will run some 2 tight end sets with Ryan Griffin playing a little bit as well. They might need him just for blocking purposes as well, and they just don't have the wide receiver depth. But stats wise, I expect Justin Fields to run for 800 yards potentially. I expect him to throw for about 3,500. And I think that would be a pretty damn successful season. If he puts up those kind of numbers, that would be a pretty damn good season.
I give him like 20, maybe 20 to 25 touchdown passes. Maybe he runs for another 5 or 6.
Yeah, I could see that. I think those are logistic expectations for what we think he's going to be like this season.
I don't hate that.
I mean, I agree with you guys. I'm right around the same stats. I'm gonna throw this in there too, especially with we got Luke Getsy now for our offense coordinator, which should hopefully help him out, especially with the success he's had with our division rival in Green Bay and playing with or coaching Aaron Rodgers. So hopefully he can instill some of that knowledge into Justin Fields pretty quickly. And I mean, he can put up a lot of stats. I mean, we saw it in Ohio State that he's definitely capable of doing it. It's just the guys around him.
The dude was like a top 10 talent, like, in college. If you're sure it's talented, like,
he's for sure capable to put give me around 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and 3,200 yards passing, around 700 rushing, and 6 touchdowns on the ground.
I'm not so sure he's going to throw for 30 touchdowns, but I think that everything else about that prediction is pretty spot on. I mean, you take a Russell Wilson, like, who had, like, his first season, he threw for 3,000 yards, and then the next season followed up with 3,300. There's no reason he couldn't take, a Russell Wilson type leap from season 1 to season 2.
David, keep it going. I'll be right back.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does have the similar skill set to a Russell Wilson type player and size. So, that's a good comparison. And I mean, if they run the offense the way they need to, those are good stats for, getting the offense moving in the right direction.
So moving on to the final storylines, let's talk about this new look Chicago Bears defense. No longer we got Danny Trevathan no longer on this team, Clay Mack no longer on this team, Akeem Hicks no longer on this team. A lot of shakeup when it comes to the overall roster. There's some other guys that are no longer on this team that I'm missing. It's just I don't have time to mention every single player that's no longer going to be a Chicago Bear on the defensive side of the football. And they have a lot of unknowns, question marks when it comes to their depth chart, when it comes to defensive tackle, both their defensive tackle positions, basically everything outside of Roquan Smith at the linebacker position, and then everything out of Jalen Johnson and Eddie Jackson in the secondary. So this is going to be a very different looking Chicago Bears defense. They're still running a 4-3, but those pieces that were there for the last part of last 5 or 6 years, just no longer going to be part of this defense. And what are we expecting it to look like when we got this defense on the football field? I do not expect Robert Quinn to finish the season as a Chicago Bear. I'd be shocked if he even starts the season as a Bear.
I mean, I don't disagree at all with that, especially with him not finishing the season, because they could use him as just a trade piece at some point for a contender that is looking to boost their defensive line. This defense is definitely going to look much different, especially without Khalil Mack. We'll see how
there aren't those notable names. There aren't those notable names on this roster right now. Like when you look at
the the 2 draft picks in our secondary could potentially become
those 2 guys are
good names here in Chicago with Brisker and Gordon. Those guys were really good in their respective colleges in Washington and Penn State.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to watch those 2.
Brisker is right now slated to be the starting strong safety, so that guy is for sure going to see
so
the field.
Far. I had a lot of hopes when I saw his highlight film when we drafted him. So we'll see how he progresses. But Gordon,
he's a good football player.
Get in there. So see if him and Jalen Johnson or see if Thomas Graham Jr. can continue to make his progress, because he finished the season pretty strong when he got some time in there.
Yeah. His draft stock took a major hit.
Oregon. He was really good there.
The only reason that Thomas Graham the only reason that he slid in the draft is because he opted out that one COVID season. If he doesn't do that, he's probably a 2nd or 3rd round pick, and the Bears got him in the 5th or 6th round in that particular draft. Right now they currently have Jalen Johnson, Duke Shelley, and Kyler Gordon kind of playing the 1-2-3 and nickel corner. With Thomas Graham Jr. kind of being the backup to those 3 guys, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think this Bears is going to struggle to really generate a consistent pass rush outside of Robert Quinn, who I'm not sure if he's going to even be on this team when the season starts. I'm just not sure where that's going to come from, unless some of these other really young players take some significant leaps from year 1 to year 2, or even rookies come out gangbusters right away.
Yeah, defensive line is definitely a little bit of a question mark right now. The whole front 7 in general. We don't have much outside of Roquan at our linebacker position either. Bilal Nichols, he can have some moments during the season. Hopefully he can take the next step in his career.
Gone. Not on the team.
That's right. He is gone.
Yeah.
That's gone. Because I was just reading up on Eddie Goldman retiring, so I forgot about Bilal.
Yeah, Bilal Nichols is
now that one hurt me too.
He's a member of the Raiders.
He was making good progress. But yeah, the front 7's outside of Quinn and Roquan. We could just end up with Roquan Smith at the end of the season out of those 2 also. So we'll see who steps up. Our secondary should be stronger though. And a new system.
Maybe.
On paper can help out.
Yeah, we'll see. I think this defense is going to be very much a work in progress. It might be the worst defense in the NFL next season.
I wouldn't go that far, but bottom 5 maybe.
I think it's for sure going to be up in the conversation. When we talk about worst defenses in the league, the Bears are going to be in the conversation. Like they're I think their secondary is probably the strong suit, but their front 7, especially if they trade away Quinn, it's going to be Roquan Smith and just a bunch of the rest of everybody else. Welcome back to the show.
They're not going to blitz Roquan to get pressure on the quarterback, so there's going to be absolutely no pressure.
No consistent
on the quarterback, which will put more pressure on our secondary.
They'll get pressure from here and there, but I don't think it'll be consistent enough to really rely on it from game to game, snap to snap, drive to drive.
Oh yeah, I mean, how are you going to go up against 6 games against Goff, Cousins, and Rodgers just picking you apart? Every game. I mean, just those 6 games alone. I mean, then you have. San Fran, Dallas. I mean, all those. We'll get into that later, but it's definitely going to be interesting how things go this season with the defense, especially.
TJ, thoughts on the defense before we move on to the draft? Because neither me or Matt are as optimistic as you usually are when it comes to the defense.
Well, obviously, it's going to be a piece of work. Like it's one of those. What's the word I'm looking for? It's gonna be like that, like the latter years of the Briggs, Urlacher defense, where those guys were just too slow to keep up, and they couldn't bring the noise like we were so accustomed to. Like that's the one thing about being a Bears fan is like we can't say like we're not used to our defenses being terrible. Like we have been absolutely spoiled by some of the best defenses the NFL has ever seen. And when the ball is being moved on our defenses, like it's probably going to get this past, like it's probably going to get this season. That's going to be that's a tough thing to swallow. Like I don't expect Robert Quinn to get traded. He's 32.
1 second. I'll get that for you. 32. Yeah, he just had his 32th birthday a couple months ago.
32nd birthday. He's 32 years old. He literally just had his best season ever as a pro. And it's like I liken him to like when Chandler Jones was on those horrible Cardinals teams. He's leading the league in sacks year in, year out. But the Cardinals was winning 4 games a year, right? And and you wonder why nobody not one Super Bowl contender back during that time traded for Chandler Jones. And it's like, are you good, or are you just playing on a bad team? All right, so I think that's what Robert Quinn is going to go through. On top of him being 32 years old.
I honestly think a team is going to take a swing on him. Like I think they're gonna trade for him. I mean, he has a track record of putting up big numbers before. Like it wasn't like actually this wasn't his career. He had a better season in 2013, which is like a decade ago.
That's 5 right. That's 9 years ago. That's not help. That's not helping your. That's not helping.
I do think he's going to get traded at some point this season, but I guess we'll see how, because he's coming off a season. The season before he had 2 sacks, and then he goes from 2 to 18 and a half.
18 and a half.
And he only played 1 more game than the season before.
So like up the middle, like obviously you're the call that was Akeem Hicks is gone.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a big hole to fill. So if you're is it Chris? Like Chris, if you're
Kyrus,
right? If you're Kyrus, all right. So if you're Kyrus, Tonga, like it's Tonga time, bro. Like hey, like you up, man. Like same thing with like Tonga. Angelo Blackson, though. I know Angelo Blackson he's got a he just had I think his wife just came out and accused him of DV. So it literally just happened like a day or 2 ago. So I don't know really what's going to go on with that. Like you got Mario Edwards, he's 28 years old. So it's more than just Robert Quinn. I mean, obviously it's going to look good in training camp because those guys aren't hitting. like that kind of thing. But it's gonna be like Travis Gibson. Like this is a big year for him. Like you slide into that edge spot. Like that's yours now, right? Like that
Well, I
Khalil.
mean, they did sign El Quad and Muhammad, who's he is what he is, I guess.
Okay, that's fine. But Travis Gibson, like you had moments where you flashed last season, so like that's on you, and you filled in for Khalil Mack. Like that was your role. So now instead of 10, 15 snaps a game, you're probably going to get 20 to 30 snaps a game. So how do you handle the extra workload? Right? So I'm really more concerned with who's going to be running ship with Roquan Smith at the linebacker spot. Like
Yeah, me too.
That's just me. Like Danny, like when we first got, like, it was cool when we first signed him because you got rookie Roquan Smith and you got Danny Trevathan at the tail end of his prime, and then Danny Trevathan got old in like the third year of him being here. Just like damn, he can't even keep up with tight ends anymore. Like he's cooked. Right? Like,
The dude they have currently playing the other linebacker position, doesn't he have it like on his ESPN profile? Doesn't he have the college listed?
is it Nick Morrow?
Yeah, like he doesn't have, like there's no college listed like next to his draft, like his stats.
And
like,
that's and obviously like that's an error on the ESPN part because the dude's it's not like he's a rookie. Like the guy's 27 years old. He's been here before. Right? He's been in the NFL. So that's on ESPN.
Oh, so he played in Canada before he ended up in the National Football League.
That's why.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's move on from here. Let's talk about our draft for the Chicago Bears. Round 1, round 2, Kyler Gordon, great pick. Round 2, they could take Jaquan Brisker, safety out of Penn State. Velus Jones Jr., wide receiver out of Tennessee. Braxton Jones, offensive tackle, Southern Utah. Dominic Robinson, linebacker, Miami. Zachary Thomas, offensive tackle, San Diego State. Tristan Ebner, running back, Baylor. Doug Kramer, center, Illinois. Terry Carter, guard, Southern. Elijah Hicks, safety, California. And then they took a punter, Trenton Gill, out of NC State, who probably will replace Pat O'Donnell, who signed to the Green Bay Packers in the offseason. I love the Bears' first 2 picks. Actually, like 3 of the first 4. I like the kid they took out of in the 5th round, the offensive tackle out of Southern Utah. I like Kyler Gordon. I like Jaquan Brisker. I'm just not crazy about the Velus Jones Jr. draft selection. But thoughts on their draft?
Oh, I don't have a problem with like a lot of people were kicking and screaming about Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker being our first 2 picks, and it's like outside of Jalen Johnson, we had no starting safety at Jaquan Brisker's spot, and we had no number 2 corner next to Jalen Johnson. Like Duke Shelley's not the number 2. Right, he's not.
No, 100% not.
Like, he's and if you look at the Bears depth chart, guess who's the starting strong safety? Jaquan.
Yeah. Yep.
Brisker. Right. Guess who's the backup corner? Kyler Gordon, and Kyler Gordon is going to get some reps with the ones because Duke Shelley is trash. I'm here to say, like, the fact that Kendall Vildor is still on this roster just baffles me. That just tells me it's a depth move and he's just not going to play because he went from getting starter reps with under Nagy and Pagano to, bro, you're third string now. You're third. You're the third string second corner, right corner. So you're terrible, right?
We got Lamar Jackson in our secondary.
And Velus, and I get it. Like the Velus Jones Jr. pick is like it's not a sexy pick. Like the guy's already 25.
25.
Right? He's an old he's an old rookie. He was a graduate. He was a grad transfer. I forgot where he transferred from to go to Tennessee. But he's probably the fastest receiver we got.
4.31 in the combine. He went to USC and then he grad transferred to Tennessee and played 2 seasons there. I believe he got an extra year of eligibility because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But so his season in 2021 is his most productive season. 62 catches for 807 yards, and yeah, he is a burner. 4.31 in the 40.
Right. So me personally, I would have went with David Bell out of Purdue, but David Bell just kept dropping and dropping. And like, I don't know what it was. Like we needed that. We needed a big body dude. We'll get to the big body we traded for in free agency.
Yep.
Doug Kramer, the sixth round pick we got in Illinois. Again, Big Ten country. I saw a lot of Illinois football. I watched a lot of Illinois football. It was running backs galore at Illinois. It was run game crazy, right? You get the old coach from Wisconsin to come down here, and it's like, all right, well, I know Illinois is gonna be trotting out the next as long as he's here, we're gonna be offensive lineman crazy and running back and RBU. Like it's gonna be insane, right? So I like that pick. I like your pickup of Braxton Jones, the offensive tackle out of
Southern Utah.
Like I don't hate that. Like that's
6'5", 310 pounds, 497 in the 40.
All right, so you look at obviously none of these guys are Kramer, Braxton Jones. Like they're not starting right now. Like looking at the depth chart, Tevin Jenkins is your left tackle. Don't hate that. Cody Whitehair, you move him to left guard. Lucas Patrick, who you signed in free agency, is the center. I don't know who the hell Willie Wright is. He's the right guard, and you got Larry Borum at right tackle. So you literally just flip flop Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum. That's literally all you did. Because when they were drafted, it was the other way around. Larry Borum was supposed to be left. Tevin Jenkins is supposed to be your right tackle, and they flipped that. So Tristan Ebner, special teamer, return dude, unless he just like unless he just like absolutely blows stuff away in the preseason, which he's
either way, we have a bunch of running backs. I would be shocked if he, 5'11", 206, and he could be a change of pace back, but we don't really need it. We have Khalil Herbert, who was good last season, and we have,
Khalil Herbert was really good last season, and of course we got David Montgomery.
And,
Matt, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. Going off of the running back we got, Ebner out of Baylor. I mean, they keep calling him our Tariq Cohen replacement, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, just wanted to add that in there. Kind of, it's you said a change of pace back with Herbert and Monty, obviously being our two backs. I like pretty much all of our linemen we got are pretty solid. To toss in there, Zachary Thomas did start 4 years with San Diego State, who's been pretty solid out of the Mountain West for a while now.
Started 17 games at right tackle, 14 games at left tackle, 2 at right guard while in college.
You can move him anywhere.
Man. Yeah,
and he's another run blocking guy too. So obviously we're going to be running the ball a lot yet again. I'm going to mention that. But I mean, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Gordon and Brisker are solid. We'll see what Velus Jones Jr. does. He could, obviously be thrown in as a returner. I'm not exactly sure. He's quite the Devin Hester type. Some are possibly thinking he could be.
Man, let's not put those kind of expectations on him, man. Let's not do that.
Way out of reach here. So, Hester's accomplished things that may never be accomplished.
Won't be accomplished again.
Yeah,
never.
Especially with all the changes that the NFL's made to go against it. But yeah, not a whole ton else to say or add on to our draft. I think it's a solid draft, probably a B+ right now. We'll see how it progresses. So, from the perspective and direction it looks like we're going, for the most part, it's a solid draft.
Yeah, I love the first two picks in this draft. I would have rather they taken an offensive lineman in the third round as opposed to just like another run-of-the-mill wide receiver. But I don't really remember the draft board, so I can't really remember who was still even there. So it's hard to really even judge it like that. I'm okay with it. I mean, I think I gave it a B or a B minus when we did our draft grade show. That's kind of how I feel about it still. I think without really a lot of value draft picks, because they didn't have a 4th round pick, they didn't have a 1st round pick, and they just had a bunch of 5th and 6th round picks. It's hard to really grade it without on that kind of curve. Justin Fields obviously was technically our 1st round pick. We'll see how that ends up playing out. But TJ, any final thoughts before we move on to free agency?
No, I'll give I'll give Ryan Poles a lot of credit because the draft capital that we ended up with, we didn't start off with this. Like he made moves.
It's true.
Right, he made a lot of moves to get just this, right? Like and this is without a 1st round pick. This is without a 4th round pick. Like Ryan Poles did work this draft, man. So I'm gonna tip my hat off to him for that one.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Also doing work, free agency roster shakeup. Notable additions: Justin Jones, Alquan Muhammad, and N'Keal Harry. Obviously, they traded for within the last week. Lucas Patrick. Key departures: Khalil Mack, A-Rob II, Al Robinson II, Akeem Hicks, Jakeem Grant. I just mentioned in there because he was a Pro Bowler last season. Really valuable returner. And then Pat O'Donnell, which was our longest tenured Bear potentially before he got when it ended up. Yeah, he's now in Green Bay. But yeah, so we're looking at the roster shakeup. What do you guys think about what they did with this roster and the shakeup? Let's have Matt go first.
Honestly, with our pickups, time will tell. Especially with, pretty much any of them. I can't really spot out really one outside of Lucas Patrick coming in to Getsy's offense again. So hopefully he can jump in there and help out the linemen and know the scheme and everything that he wants to run. And N'Keal Harry, he's definitely been a disappointment. I mean, a number of stud ASU receivers. Going back to like Derek Hagan type days, way back in the early to mid 2000s, haven't really came in and done really much in the NFL, which is a surprise because N'Keal Harry was a stud in college. I mean, IU came in and is doing pretty well at San Fran, so we'll see how they use him. I mean, they could utilize him differently than New England had altogether and kind of help him out.
You also wouldn't have the expectations that he had in New England. I mean, you're a 1st round pick in New England. I mean, that expectation is to be like 1st round pick good. It's not always something always every player can handle. He comes in with no expectations. He comes in with a brand new fresh start.
And I'm gonna chop that up to a location. Like you say, Brandon Ayuk was good. It's also a good start. Look at where he went. Like is Brandon Ayuk the same player if he goes to New England? I don't think so. So a lot of that is. I mean,
Brandon Ayuk has only been okay. I mean, he's had one good season. Let's see him do it again, as you like to say.
That's better than what N'Keal Harry.
Fine. I mean, the bar is extremely low, I guess.
The other thing is N'Keal.
It's location. It's where you go, right? So obviously, like to your point, like the expectation of him he's going to New England, he's going with Tom Brady. Like it's big expectations, but what people fail to realize is that offense that they run in New England, it's known for being a very complicated offense. Chad Ochocinco couldn't grasp that offense, right? And all Chad Johnson want to do is run routes. He didn't care about work. He didn't care about working out. He didn't care about all Chad Johnson wanted to do was run routes and play football. He couldn't pick it up. Right, and that was pretty much the end of the book on Chad Ochocinco in the NFL because everybody else saw that as, damn, if Chad Johnson can't pick up Belichick offense, I can't. What the hell can he do for me? So yeah, that's what. And N'Keal Harry, he did have his moments, although they were very, 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 very few far in between.
I don't even remember any of those moments that he quote unquote had.
That's the point.
I think the departures is really good. Something like it hurts, but I understand why it needed to happen. Like Allen Robinson clearly didn't want to be here for the last season and a half. Cleo Mack was, injury prone last couple of seasons. Akeem Hicks, same thing. I mean, he basically didn't play a full season for the last 3 years. Jakeem Grant, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't make more of an effort to try to keep. He was extremely valuable last season. I thought the Bears would try to keep him in the fold.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let Jakeem Grant go, like especially because he had such a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, we traded for him mid-season, then he becomes a Pro Bowler, and then we don't even try to keep him. Like we just we're like, well, that's fine. We don't need him.
Right, because he made such a big impact in such a short amount of time. Like to David's point, like how often do mid-season acquisitions turn into Pro Bowl players?
Never. It's extremely rare.
Right, like most of the time, because Pro Bowl players don't get traded mid-season, right? It just doesn't happen, right? So yeah, like the Allen Robinson was so checked out to the point where they were like, dude, like don't even dress, and if you do dress, just don't wear it. We're just not gonna play you. Like that's what it came to it, and you can definitely tell like it was frustration with the coaching staff, because it's like, why are you not playing me? Like why? So if you're not gonna play me, all right, I don't like. If you don't give a damn, I don't give a damn. I get it. That's a terrible mindset to have, but think about it from what player wants to play where they're not wanted.
It's true. Especially, I think he was on a franchise tag, so he was playing on a fully guaranteed contract anyways. So, I mean, what is your motivation? If you're not going to play me, I'm already getting my guaranteed money. There's no incentives in my contract for me to produce more, so I'm just going to not.
I'm like, and whenever I do go out there, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to go through the motions.
Yeah.
Right. Allen Robinson probably had 2 touchdowns the entire season. They all came in like the first 3 weeks of the season. Right, that was it.
He's in a good spot now in LA, but yeah, Naheem next, pretty painful. Danny Trevathan, I didn't mention a bunch of other people that are no longer on this Bears roster that have not signed yet. Like Danny Trevathan hasn't signed with any team yet. Tariq Cohen, Jimmy Graham, Tayshaun Gibson, Jason Peters, who probably should retire. He's 40 years old now. Alec Ogletree, who was a midseason signing, who's still not signed on a team, which is kind of surprising because he's super athletic and a pretty decent player.
Yeah, I would looking at the current linebacker core, and Alec Ogletree definitely had moments playing for us last season. I would 100% bring him back. Like, hey, what do you like? You ain't signed by, and I hopefully that's what they're doing. Like that's kind of the risk you run when you're a free agent and you're a player, and you quote unquote test the market, right? So the Bears really don't have to come to him running. They can literally just sit back and wait. Like, all right, you tested the market. Now, do you want to go back to that offer we offered you at the start of this whole thing, or do you want to keep testing your luck here?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where they're at.
It's potentially Alec Ogletree could come back. But yeah, I think the roster shakeup, this is kind of stuff you needed to have done. You needed to move on from what was the old era and move into a new regime. So this is kind of the way it goes. Moving into the schedule. Let's get into the schedule, gentlemen. Let's talk about the first game of the season where the Chicago Bears go welcome in the San Francisco 49ers into Soldiers Field. I imagine this will be the Trey Lance show at this point, but I really have no idea. We're going to do San Francisco down the road. Do you guys see San Francisco coming out here a victory, or do you think Soldiers Field and Bears rise up first week of the season and get a W?
I'll start with this one. Absolutely not, to answer your question. I mean, I don't think it's going to matter who starts for San Fran.
It definitely.
I mean, Jimmy G came in and pretty much took down the Bears pretty easily last time we played them here in Soldier Field. I'm going to take San Fran by probably at least 10 points.
I think this game will be closer than that, but I am going to take San Francisco to win the game. I know Trey Lance is probably going to be the starter.
Trey Lance is probably going to be the starter.
Let me give you San Francisco winning on a walk-off field goal. I'll have San Francisco win the game.
Jimmy G did not come down and take the Bears. Like Jimmy G threw one screen pass to Deebo Samuel, and the defense just couldn't tackle. That's not taking the defense. taking the Bears down. And if we remember correctly, this is one of the better games that Justin Fields
Yeah,
played.
it's the game where you had that interesting touchdown, where you had that scramble touchdown, fourth down.
Right.
And
this was a
this is a game that Bears should have won, but they let slip away for sure.
That you literally let Deebo Samuels go 80 yards on one screen. Like, he didn't score, but you're probably better off letting him score, because at that point you give him San Fran first and goal on the 10-yard line. Right? He really went 10-yard line to 10-yard line, right, in one play. Defensively, you can't let that happen. But because of the unknown that is Trey Lance in his first game against like real competition, right? Not the Houston Texans. I'm going to give the Bears a walk-off win with Cairo Santos kicking the field goal instead of Robbie Gould breaking the heart. So we start off great. We start off 1-0.
And then we go to Green Bay into Lambeau Field, which won't be the frozen tundra quite yet. At least I'd hope not, unless things take a real turn for the worse when it comes to weather. We go to Green Bay, and I think we take another L in Lambeau. I don't think we don't have the talent to compete with Green Bay this season, especially not in Lambeau.
Well, the only thing they have over us is Aaron Rodgers. That's it. And because of the team, because of how things are going in the past, that's usually more than enough. I don't think Green Bay has a line here. So if you say the Packers have a better receiving core than the Bears, Darnell Mooney is literally better than everybody who calls himself a receiver. The Green Bay Packers.
I don't disagree with that, actually.
Darnell Mooney is better than everybody who calls himself a wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. So for all those dudes who out there picking the Bears as a worse receiving core than the Green Bay Packers, I'm gonna really need you to evaluate your credentials, because outside of I get it. Outside of Darnell Mooney, who the Bears have, who do the Packers have? Lazard is your number one? Like, Lazard, really?
He's been rather underwhelming his entire career.
What's
left of Sammy Watkins?
What's left of Randall Cobb? Like, really? Like, come on.
What's left of Sammy Watkins, if he even makes the final roster?
So, but because it's in Green Bay, because they have a better quarterback, I think it's going to be closer than what people what it could be, because offensively Green Bay is gonna. It might be tough to watch. Like, they got the better 1-2 between the two Aarons, Aaron and Aaron Jones. So like that might be just enough to get a 10-point win out of us at home.
I think it'll be worse than that. I think they'll beat us by 20 points.
How much?
20.
Why? How? Why do you give them a 20-point win?
I think Green Bay's defense is going to be stout next season. I mean, if Izzy was on the show, you talk about probably top 5-ish defense, and I think Justin Fields may struggle in this game.
Okay, so you lose. What's his name? You lose to Darius Smith, right? We'll get to Green Bay. We'll get to
Green Bay. Matt, you taking Green Bay, or you rolling with the Bears?
Next game.
The Houston Texans come into Soldier Field. I think this is where the Bears get their first win of the season. If Izzy were on the show, he'd be talking about how good Davis Mills is going to be. Blah blah blah. So I don't care. Bears get the victory. They get off the schneid. They're 1-2, they got the schneid. They beat the Houston Texans in Soldier Field, 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. I
think Brandon Cooks may have a big game here.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be should be a potential Justin Fields breakout game. Houston's it's probably going to be pretty atrocious right there with the Bears for this season. Going into Soldier Field again, I think this is where Fields will have a big game. And Bears will take it double digits, 14, 17 points.
Yeah, I'm going. I got them at 2-1 because I got them winning the first game against San Fran. I might have them going to start off 3-1. I think they beat the Giants, and now it get rough. Yeah,
so let's talk about those next two games that are on the road. They go to MetLife Stadium there in East Rutherford, New Jersey, take on the Giants, and then they go into U.S. Bank? No, I don't remember what that stadium's called, so I'm not gonna try right now. And then they go into Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Do they lead this mini road trip with a 2-game winning streak? Technically 3 because they're coming off that Houston victory. TJ, I'll let you go first. I know you said they're gonna beat the Giants, but do they beat Minnesota?
They do not beat Minnesota at all. Like that's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly fast. They beat the Giants, so that's 3-1. Then they lose to Minnesota. That's 3-2, and then move on from that.
Yeah, so I have the Bears beating the Giants, and I also have them losing to Minnesota. I think they're going to get swept by Minnesota and Green Bay this season. But Matt, how do you have them doing this road trip? Giants, Minnesota, Vikings.
Yeah, I agree with you, David, on this. We'll go in and beat the Giants. Hopefully, we can contain Saquon enough to take the victory there. Going into Minnesota, I mean, we got swept last year by them, and I think we're going to struggle again against them unless they're contending for the playoffs. I mean, we'll talk about this later with our last game, but I have Minnesota taking this one. They're just a better team, and being at home, they'll win by a score, maybe 10 points.
And then the Bears have 4 games against the AFC and NFC East, 2 of them on the road and 2 of them at home. First game is against Washington in Soldier Field. They go to New England and Dallas, and then Miami comes into Soldier Field. How do you see this 4-game stretch against the NFC and AFC East shaking out? Matt, I'll let you go first. Washington, New England, Dallas, Miami.
All right. It'll be interesting how Washington comes out. Some have them favored winning the East, and they usually play the Bears pretty well. So I'm going to give Washington the victory with the Bears at Soldier Field. New England's an interesting one. I mean, the Bears never played well in New England. To be honest, I'm just going to put it straight. I see this being a 5-game losing streak right here, all the way up to Miami.
I tend to agree with you. Actually, I think the Bears fall to Washington. They fall to New England. They get beat by Dallas, and I think they lose to Miami. Miami has those wide receivers and Mike Gesicki. It's not really a great recipe for a team that has a terrible linebacking core and then a secondary that's sort of in a rebuild. Yeah, give me the Bears lose all 5 of these games. I think they got them falling down to 3-7 now after that road trip, that mini tour of the NFC and AFC East. TJ,
Washington is going to be interesting because, you know, the Carson Wentz slander tour continues, but they like Carson Wentz enough to give him this win. Plus, this is week 6, so Chase Young should definitely be back and in full effect by this point, barring an unforeseen catastrophe, which we are not wishing on him at all.
Knock on wood, baby.
Knock on wood. That's going to be, I can see that one going either way. Honestly, New England, we don't play Tom Brady well in New England. Right? Like, let's be curious. Like let's set that straight, right? Like every time I think Tom Brady is like one of the few teams the Bears is like actually one of the few teams has they ever beaten Tom Brady? Has he beaten us every time?
Didn't we have that 4th down play last year or 2 years ago?
Oh no, okay, I'll take that back. Okay, yeah. So we've beaten Tom Brady before. I don't know how many times, but you can tell it wasn't enough. It's not.
I think that was the first time ever.
This is. I think this is a primetime game, the New England game. It's not 1 and 2, but it's Matt Jones versus Justin Fields, right? They went right after each other,
correct,
in that draft. So like that's gonna be televised. So like that's actually gonna be a big game. It's just like, of course, Matt Jones gets the home field, right? And it's Bill Belichick, dude. It's hard betting against Bill Belichick, but it's interesting to see how they come to work. Like their receiving core ain't much to brag home about either. Like that's true.
It's true.
So I can see that going either way, but they have the better coach. So Mac Jones is definitely going to be better prepared going into this game than Justin Fields has. Dallas, David, you know this. When we did the Dallas show, I picked the Bears to beat Dallas in Dallas. I did that. So I'm going to stick with it.
All right.
So I'm gonna stick with that. Miami, that's gonna be yeah, they got weapons, but again, Tua's still throwing the ball. Tua is still throwing the ball.
I mean, there was a point in Tua's career when he was like a Hall of Fame lock player. When people were like, "Oh, he's gonna be a Hall of Famer."
Like Tua is still throwing the ball. So until Tua can prove that he can make the throws that they need him to throw and make them consistently, Miami, I get it. Miami's going to challenge Buffalo for the division. That's what Ryan Clark said on ESPN today, and I respect. Like he played the game. He's probably forgotten more football than I'll ever know. But again, until Tua can prove that he can be the consistent quarterback that Miami needs him to be. Right? Until he proves that, it's hard to pick Miami for anything. It really is. So
It's true.
I can see, Washington. I'm gonna have that coin toss. That's an either way, but I'm gonna have them, like one way or other, they're gonna lose. Like they're gonna lose some of the games. Washington's defense is better than ours, so I'm gonna pick Washington. I already picked them losing to New England. I got them beating Dallas, and I can see them beating Miami. So I don't know. That's like 4-6.
2-2. So yeah, I got him at 2-7 right now. Going into a stretch that I think is very favorable for the Chicago Bears. They got Detroit, they go to Atlanta, and they go to the New York Jets. I have the Bears taking 3 victories in all 3 of these games. I have them beating Atlanta, I have them beating the New York Jets, and I have them beating Detroit in Soldiers Field. I have them jumping up to 5-7 going into that Green Bay game, that Green Bay game. Do you guys have them winning all 3 of those games as well? Detroit, Atlanta, New York Jets.
Some way, somehow, I got to split with Detroit. I don't know if it's going to be a home and home. Detroit win here, we win in Detroit. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to split with Detroit. I do know that we're beating Atlanta and the Jets. That's just going to happen. It's going to be curious. I'm really going to like to watch that Sauce Gardner v. Darnell Mooney matchup. Like that's going to be that's going to be quite entertaining. Like to me personally, that's going to be entertaining.
I mean, you could also say the AJ Terrell, Darnell Mooney matchup should be.
Yeah. That's gonna be that's and for the Lions, Jeff Okudah should definitely be back in full effect by this point, right? Like he's coming off of
I hope so. I mean, Achilles.
So like Jeff Okudah should be at least getting his footing back. So it still might be a rough go round for him. So like 2023 is going to be a big year for Jeff Okudah because he can train instead of rehab.
I agree with you 100%. Matt, those 3 games, Detroit, Atlanta, the Jets. How do you have the Bears?
I'm definitely going to take them against Detroit and the Jets. Atlanta is an interesting one, especially to see how Marcus Mariota shows up, and especially with our front 7 and him being able to move around on his feet. But before I make my prediction, I'm going to make a shout out to a couple of my guys out in Phoenix, diehard Falcons fans. Sorry to say, I think at this point of the season, I think the Bears will start to gel a little bit as a group on offense and defense. I mean, they're not going to be great, but they're going to go in and beat the Falcons by a game-winning field goal. I'm going to give them, and they're going to probably do it. I think Montgomery's going to do well on the ground, on the road there, and have a big game himself. So give me the Bears by 3 against the Falcons, and them taking all 3 in this little stretch right here before we play Green Bay yet again at Soldier Field.
So yeah, before the bye, Green Bay comes into Soldier Field this week before the bye. This is we go into Green Bay. I am going to have them lose this game as well. I just think Green Bay. I know their wide receiver report is depleted, but I think when you have Aaron Rodgers, it gives you every chance to win. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win the game again. So I got them falling to 5-8. TJ.
Yeah, that's fine. Last time I checked, they don't hang banners for sweeping the Bears. So
No, I don't.
cheer up, cheer like Aaron Rodgers is gonna finish 25-5 against the Bears. Woohoo! Let me know when they hang a banner for that, Packer fans.
You know what? Screw it. This is probably the most I've said about a Bears Packers game on any of our preview shows we've done over the years. Give me the Bears to stun Green Bay as they're going into this game with a little bit of a
I,
streak here and going into the bye,
I love
especially
it.
with the difficult stretch at the end of the season, which we'll go over.
I
But give
love
me
it.
the Bears by a field goal
I
to
love it.
actually pull this one out.
I love it, Matt. I love it. I love it. Absolutely
Got to
love
give
it.
us some hope for this season,
I
gentlemen.
love it. I love it, Matt.
Then after the bye week, we have 4 games that are all teams that should be in playoff contention, minus Detroit. So Philadelphia comes to Soldier Field, Buffalo comes to Soldier Field, Detroit. We go to Detroit, and then Minnesota comes here. How many of those games do we win out of those 4 games to wrap the season, the final 4 games of the year?
1,
0.
0.
1, maybe. I mean, again, I liken the Philly game just to the Miami game, right? Like until Jalen Hurts proves he can be the consistent quarterback Philly needs him to be. Now I get it. Like they have weapons galore, right? AJ, like they 2-headed monster. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, right? You got Dallas Goedert at tight end. That's a hit. Like that's
Miles Sanders, nice running back room. Kenneth Gainwell.
Miles Sanders when healthy.
Yeah,
Like
Kenneth Gainwell when healthy. Boston Scott when healthy.
Like 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Boston Scott because he has the uncanny ability to somehow, some way, stay healthy and stay on the field. Like Miles Sanders, all that dream team talk, bruh. In order for it to be a dream team, you kind of have to be there, right? Yeah. Like you have to be a part of the dream team, right?
But I agree with you. I think of all those 4 games, I think Philadelphia is the game they win. I think they lose I think they for sure lose to Buffalo. Buffalo's going to have like 1 loss this season. I think
2.
Yeah, maybe 2. I think they go into Detroit, and I think they get beat by Detroit, and then I think Minnesota sweeps them because I just think they're a better football team on paper.
To me, Minnesota's winning the division. Like Minnesota's winning the division this year. That's my pick to win the division.
That is an interesting prediction. That's a bold statement right there. And I think I have the Bears beating Philadelphia. I have them finishing the season 6-11. I'm gonna
give them 7-10. 7-10. Again, like that's like you want to be better than what you were last season. Like 7-10, 8-9. Like that's obviously you're not making the playoffs. Like 7-10, 8-9. Like that's a win. If you somehow, some way, skip the 8 wins with this schedule, that's a win. That is an absolute win. The only thing I hate is like again with a schedule like this, like it's probably gonna come up with CBA talks real soon. They're gonna incorporate a second bye week because you got teams that have bye weeks way too early, and in this case, you have a bye week way too late. So, like at some point, they're gonna incorporate.
They should have a second bye week. They should add 1 more week to the season so it's an even number too.
Yeah.
I'm going to add a second bye week. But yeah, I have the Bears at 6-11. I do think there are some games here that I think could go either way. Like I could see the Bears beating Green Bay with the wide receiver situation that Green Bay is going to be having to deal with. I could see them beating Dallas. I could see them beating Washington. I could see them splitting with Minnesota. I could see them beating, sweeping Detroit even. And this Bears team has, on paper, you look at their schedule, they have a lot of games that are like tough games. They're playing them all at home.
Yeah.
Outside of the Dallas New England game. So yeah, I mean the Bears could be a team
Buffalo's at home. Buffalo's at
home. I don't think we're beating Buffalo, but yeah, we can Minnesota.
Well, I'm not saying that, but you said all the tough games are at home. Yeah. So I'm like, and I've looked. So Buffalo is at home.
Miami, Washington, Philadelphia, like all of those games are at home.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo might beat the Bears by 4 scores. I mean, especially at this point in the season.
Yeah, what's his name?
I mean, they're just above and beyond.
Josh Allen.
Philly's one they should win, but that's going to be their slip up of the last 4.
Josh Allen on his MVP tour, probably is like sitting out the 4th quarter.
Buffalo on their Super Bowl.
I have the Bears, 6-11. I think that's that's a respect. As long as they continue to play hard, we see improvement from the Bears. We need to see improvement.
That's it.
That would be a successful.
That's it. Play hard. Like, don't get embarrassed. I mean, like, sometimes you can't control that. Like, things happen, but yeah, just continue to develop. Right. Obviously, like, again, like that's all you can ask for in a team that's rebuilding. Right. Play hard and develop. That's literally all you can ask for. You have to come in with the mindset like, all right, yeah, I get it. We want to be a championship team. We want to play in the Super Bowl, but as David likes to be Debbie Downer, they don't have Super Bowl hopes. Every team has Super Bowl hopes, right? Like, if you don't think you can make it, then why are you here? Why are you in this business? But at the same time, you got to be realistic. Like, yeah, you may have Super Bowl dreams and hopes, but everybody ain't gonna make it, right? Only two teams make it. Only one team wins it. All right, so the Bears are in that. Yeah, we have Super Bowl hopes, but you're nowhere near there, right? Like, you got to build.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with the Chicago Bears. What do you think their record's going to be? Drop it down in the comments. I've been David Huffin, TJ Hopkins, Mr. Matthew James. Thank you very much for joining us here for our Chicago Bears season preview. We're going to continue this content, continue with season previews. We have 10 teams left to get through before the season starts. I think we can easily do that. Gentlemen, what we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring
the heat.
Yes, sir.
And we go to sleep because I ain't been to sleep yet.
Yeah, man. You get some sleep, man. We'll talk later. Okay, buddy?
All right.
All right, gentlemen.
Easy.